What's going on, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. Welcome back to Groovy Thursdays. I'm very excited about this week's groove. It's a killer one. The song is called Assassin from the band Muse, their record Black Holes and Revelations. This one's a lot of fun. Let's get into it. I'll freely admit it here. I am a huge Muse fan. I love this band. Dominic Howard is a beast. Love the songs. I love the rock. I love the heaviness. Everybody in the band. Chris Wolstenholme. He's got a hard last name. It's almost as hard as DiVirgilio. And Matt Bellamy, man, what a great band. I'll give you a little back history of my love for Muse here. Back in 2004, this goes way back, I was playing in the band Tears for Fears, and we lived in Los Angeles. Everybody was there, and there's a radio station there called K-Rock, K-R-O-Q, and it's the alternative radio station. It's been there forever. And around that time, they had a summer concert series called the Inland Invasion. And Tears for Fears was slated to play at the Inland Invasion. And tons of bands. Well, now I didn't know who Muse was at the time. I wish I did. 2004, they played two bands before Tears for Fears. I had no idea who they were. I mean, I found out they were on the bill later on, and I go, oh, who's Muse? I had no idea. The record Absolution came out that year. And man, it would have been awesome to see them, as you know, a fresh, young sort of band. They'd only been around since 1999 or so, you know, and they were on fire back then. They're still on fire now. Their new record is great. I like it a lot. So then I didn't really know who they were. I don't know why. I mean, because they were played on radio all the time. They kept getting bigger and bigger. Then the song Uprising got released in 2009, the Resistance record. That song blew the band up, made them a kind of a huge worldwide just phenomenon, right? Even though they'd been around for 10 years, that was the song that really blew them up big. Then I fell in the hole deep. I went back and heard everything. I listened to every live thing. I went, you know, YouTube diving to everything Muse. I became pretty much obsessed by the band. Totally loved it. And then when the family, we went and joined Cirque du Soleil, we were on the road, we were living in New York City, and the first time I got to see Muse live was on their second Law tour at Madison Square Garden. It was me, my wife Tiffany, my son Anthony. We sat at the back of the bowl, looking straight at the stage, and it was mind-blowing. It was a great concert. I've seen them like 6 times now. And yeah, they're pretty fantastic. So their music is a challenge to play too, man, because they're heavy, and this particular tune is very aggressive, especially this opening part. And it's not too difficult. It's just it's difficult because it's fast, and you have to build up to the speed and the coordination. It's a lot of fun. So here we go. Groove number 41, Assassin. What I found out with messing with this groove is that the top of the song, it's in 2 tempos. So now they may have been playing this live in the studio. Maybe they didn't play this to a click, or maybe the click was programmed like this. If they did, I have no idea. But the opening of the tune starts out at around 132 BPM. It's all in 4/4 time. There's no crazy time signatures here. But it starts out at about 132 BPM, this whole opening section. And then as it gets into the triplet tom and snare fill, before it gets into the bash and groove part, at that triplet fill part, the tempo slows down. And once it gets into that groove, and he's just bashing 2 and 4 kind of thing, it slows down about 10 BPM to 122. And then I think the song stays around there the rest of the time. So they could have played it live, just in the studio going for it, and that's what the tempo naturally went to, or they programmed the click if they played to a click. So knowing that, playing this opening bit at 132 BPM, all 16th notes, is a challenge. So let's concentrate on the opening section here. In my transcription, I transcribed the opening section, the triplet fill, that is the transition section going into the heavy groove, and then the heavy groove part before the vocal starts. The opening groove is really only a bar long, and it repeats a lot, but the little fills with the snare that he throws in every so often sort of trip you up a little bit and make you feel like the groove changes, but it really is the same thing. So we're going to concentrate just on the first bar. The drum pattern, like a lot of these things, is following the guitar riff. It's made up of 2-note and 3-note chunks, if you want to look at it like that. I think it makes it a little bit easier to see it like that on the page. And again, it's all 16th notes. You're playing every 16th note, really, except for the very last one on 40 and There's a tiny 16th note rest there. Another thing you'll notice is that your ride hand, I gotta speak ride hand, snare hand, because Dominic Howard is a left-handed player, so everything is turned around for him. But your ride hand, your ride cymbal, and your kick drum do the exact same thing. They play together. So that simplifies it a little bit. And your snare is in between everything. So let's talk beat by beat and in these little chunks. In the first beat, you have two two-note chunks. Kick, snare, kick, snare. So kick is on 1, snare is on E, kick is on and snare is on Pretty simple, just back and forth. Then, starting on beat 2, you have 3 3-note chunks. Goes like this. Kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. Just like that, right? That takes you all the way up to, you're into beat 4 now, and you only have a 2-note chunk left. On 4 E, you have a kick drum, and you have the last snare drum. You could think of this as a rudiment exercise between your snare hand and your kick, or your snare hand and your ride cymbal hand. Let's, for a quick second here, take it real slow. I'll clap a slow pulse, and I'll sort of vocalize this pattern. If you do it like this, you internalize it, you kind of get the pattern together in your brain and in your voice, and you speed it up from there, and you should be good to go. So let's do this real slow. Here's a pulse. 16th notes are very slow. 1 E and 2 E and like that. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare. You can do it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare. Try that and internalize it that way. Those kinds of things help so greatly when you're trying to just figure out something that's dense, has a lot of notes, slow it down a lot, sing it out. It works. And remember, your ride cymbal hand and your kick drum play together, and your snare's in between all the notes. The two hands never really play together in this opening pattern. Little thing to point out here, a little ghosty, a little kind of ear candy bit. I think this is what's happening in the recording. I could be wrong, but and I've seen him play live, and I've watched some YouTube footage. It seems like this is what's going on in his snare hand. But once you get into bar 2 and bar 3, the second 16th note of beat 1, there's a little drag, a little double drag right there in the left hand. It could be just a single ghost note. It seems pretty natural to have your left hand do the double. You just let your wrist kind of fall, and it does the double stroke right there. The rest of the pattern is exactly the same. It's exactly the same as bar 1. Except instead of having just a single note on the second 16th note of beat 1, you have 2 notes, a little double drag. And definitely keep the rest of the snare drums in the bar accented and hit hard. Nice backbeat shots, because those snare drum hits are following the guitar part, the high notes of the guitar riff. So you play the first 3 bars. At the end of the 3rd bar, you have the first little snare fill. The snare fill starts on beat 4, and think of it as all 4 16th notes, 4 E and, except on the E, the second 16th note, you play a double instead of a single there. So, ba, da, ga, da, da, 4 E and, 4 E and. Speed that little fill up to 132 BPM, and it's a cool little ear candy change to this whole pattern. Then, from there, you play another 3 bars of this pattern. At the end of bar 6, you play the exact same fill on the beat 4 of bar 6. Ba, da, ga, da, ga. Ba, 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 4 E and. Then, to change it up just a little bit more, on beat 1 of bar 7, you have another little fill that's tagged onto the end of the previous snare fill. They kind of all flow together. It's a little triplety thing. It happens on the first 2 16th notes of beat 1. It's a little triplet. It goes by really fast. So what I want to do here is play this part of the groove that I did, but slowed down to about half speed, and you can hear what happens with this little triplety fill. Again, it starts on beat 1 of bar 7, and it's really just the first 2 16th notes. The last 2 16th notes, the and is the end of the triplet fill, and then the of beat 1 is your kick drum and your ride cymbal. Slowed down with my voice before I show you the video is like this. Da ga da ga ga. Ba 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 ba. Or triplet and. Triplet and. So you take the little snare fill at the end of bar 6, starting on beat 4. Do that. Da da ga da ga. Tag on the little fill at the beginning of bar 7. Triplet and. Put them both together. And it really is sort of magic. So check out the video here, really slow down about half speed and hear it that way. And then I'll speed it back up again too. Here we go. I hope that helped you hear that little fill a little bit better, make it clear at a slow tempo like that. Now let's finish this off. You have one more bar of the groove, and then you have a 1 bar break, which is a drum fill, and it's all 16th note triplets. This is a really cool thing. It goes back and forth between the snare and the floor tom, so you have this coordination thing back and forth between the two drums. And the way I'm playing it, I'm sticking it, is right, left, kick, right, left, kick. If you're left-handed like Dominic, you would be left, right, kick, left, right, kick. And it's back and forth between the two drums. So you have snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, floor, floor, kick, clam. That's the pattern. Again, one more time. Snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, snare, snare, kick, floor, floor, kick, floor, floor, kick, flam. But speed that triplet fill up to 132 BPM or so, and it's very exciting and a cool transition bar. Then from that point, you get into the more bashing straight ahead groove that's at a slower tempo. Again, it's around 122 BPM, and this is much simpler, and it's very typical, very sort of heavy Muse riffing rock. In this groove, your kick drum and your ride hand, your crash hand are playing all quarter notes. Simple there. You have a snare drum on beat 2, then you have a snare drum on 3E and the last 16th note of beat 3, and then a snare drum on 4 and that's the pattern. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and like that, with just quarter notes in your crash hand and kick drums playing quarter notes. You play that with passion and hit the drums hard. It's really good. It really is good. This whole phrase is 4 bars long. You have a very simple snare drum fill starting on 3 and of beat 4. It's all straight 16th notes from there. So it's 3E and then 4E and 3E and 4E and straight like that. And then repeat the 4 bars over again. And there you go, groove number 41, the song Assassin from the band Muse, their record Black Holes and Revelations. This groove is so much fun to play. Dominic Howard is such a solid, killer rock drummer. He can play fast and intricate stuff like this, or slow and just solid backbeat kind of grooves too, and they're all powerful and just all feel really good. So I'm a big fan of Dominic's drumming. This is a great study. Make sure you warm up a little bit before you dive into this groove at this tempo. This groove is really hard to play at 132 BPM, and you got to get the blood flowing first. So start slow and build up the tempo. And especially if you play every day, that'll be easier to do. But if you're, if you're just playing for fun, diving right in at the top tempo to this, you need to work up to it. So again, just play it slow, build up the tempo, build up your muscle memory, all that kind of stuff, and you'll be rocking this groove in no time. If you like what's going on here at Groovy Thursdays, I ask that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, send the video to all your friends, bring on comments and suggestions for future grooves, and we'll see you next week for groove number 42, everybody. Have a great week. Cheers.